whatever. Basically, alright, so I'm basically just gonna make a little beginner's guide kind of for Undertale timeline collapse, because I realized that there just wasn't one, so I thought it'd be a good idea to make one. So, when you first go in the game, you're obviously gonna see the lobby, just basically ignore everything. You can do the obby a little bit if you want to, but you have to start out as Frisk. Now, now don't buy any of these like tutorial papyrus. Don't buy any of them. If you really want to, you can buy like a better starter character. You want to, you can buy like a better starter character like Sans or something, so you don't have to use Frisk and just get one-shotted. But you're gonna want to try to buy a character from here. Don't make it like Undertale or Underswap or any of these. You can use Dustswap, that's fine. But really the only reason why you should never get Undertale is if you have the space to. Otherwise, basically ignore this. Just ignore this entire side unless if you have Dustswap papyrus. Now, if you do actually have Dustswap papyrus, now, why did I just? Oh, my brain's not functioning today. Whatever. So, I'll just tell you some good starter characters, I guess. Dustswap is decent for his cost. He's not a bad character. He's bad, but he's a starter character. He's not very bad for a starter character. Undertale Papyrus. Actually, scratch Dustswap. He's a good character, but he's way better off. Undertale Papyrus is actually really good. Just Underswap, really the only characters that you should be buying from here is Underfowl or Dustin. You can buy TS Underswap or Disbelief or Killer or whatever, but that's if you have the code to get their phases or V2s. But yeah. Anyways, now after you buy a character in there, and I'll just ignore Waterfall for now. You won't really need it. You'll have to come back here later for Hyperdose. Besides that, just leave it for now. Now, after you do that, there's one character in Holland that you're really gonna have to focus everything you have on. That's Flower Sands. Flower Sands is not very expensive, and he's really goddamn good. Like he's busted, and he's actually really good. He's not very cheap, and he's not super cheap. He's 22. He's man, he's 22,000 souls. Anyways, after you do all of that, after you buy that character, you're probably gonna want to buy Dream Sands. Buy Dream or Nightmare. Dream is good for close range, Nightmare is good for far range. They're not very, actually, don't even buy Flower Sands. Just buy Dream or Nightmare. I suggest Nightmare, but Nightmare is just close range, Dream is far range. That's now that's it for the base beginner's guide, although that was 3 minutes long. It's not very, it's helpful, I guess, but it's not super helpful. So I'll just say a little bit more information about the game and what's good to grind and what little message, because okay, show you this. Sometimes there will be little server events where it'll be either a vial or a hate soul or stuff like that. Now, I'll basically just tell you what they all do. Okay. And also, actually, I might as well say, before you leave the lobby, if you're ever curious on how much certain souls give or whatever, you have these little things over here that tell you how many souls, like what gives what. Like, for example, if you want to do the factory soul, which is something involving the little server events, you can see how much stuff it gives you. Anyway, you can also see where stuff spawns, which is actually more valuable. Anyways, I'm just gonna go to core. I'll just use air sounds. Okay. Alright. And we can make it. Okay. Anyways. So, the first server event, this is like, I don't know. Oh, there is actually one little character and it's involving a server event, so I guess it's good that I saved it for this part of the video. Anyways, these little server events. The first one is like you hear a thud nearby or whatever. Basically, when this shows up, that means a book. That means a little book spawns around the map. And there's one character I actually forgot to mention him. The little characters you should buy when you start off with. And this is like a very first character. Just basically scratch all Snowden and save. Like, and buy this little character that I forgot. So I hope you haven't bought a Snowden character yet, but yeah. Or just, you know, you're watching this video when the event's ended. But yeah. Basically, when you hear the little thud, there will be a little book. And this book actually gets some stuff, so I suggest you find it if you have the badge or not. But when you touch it, you get the special badge. You get the little funny badge. And that badge can be used to go into special characters. This, like I said, scratch of buying a Snowden character, just don't do it. Instead, well, that is, if you have the badge, then buy this little boy right here, Abyss Sands. Abyss Sands, in general, he's not very good, but as a starter character and for his cost, he's actually really goddamn good. He's just a good little starter character. He's not anything busted. Like, he's not anything OP or anything, but he is a really good But he is still a really good starter character, you know? But, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, basically, just, you want to buy Sands, then buy Abyss Sands, and then buy Flower. You know, don't buy Flower, don't. You buy Sands, you buy Abyss Sands, and then you start grinding up for Nightmare Sands. And I'll tell you what to do after that. I'll just help you a little bit. Although that might actually be taking a little while, so yeah, it must be kind of difficult if I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, what the fuck? Anyways, the next little server event, I'll just use Fatal Arrows. Oh, goddamn no. Wow, guys, look at me. I'm Fatal Arrow. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyways, the next server event, I was trying to think. I don't really crap, what is it? Yeah. I remember two, but this is like one that I actually kind of forgot. I'll just tell you. I would basically just say there are three old server events. One's the book thing I was talking about. One is a file to spawn the boss, and that one is a powerful. And the one for the spawn the boss is a powerful soul is dropped in the timeline. That, well, I mean you can spawn a boss, which again I'll show later when we get to that one. The last one, I don't remember the name, but just if you see a message that isn't those two, that just isn't those two, then just know it's Hate Soul. God, that was a mess. Anyways, so this little Hate Soul will spawn just like the book. You basically pick it up, and you actually have to be fast this time. It'll despawn out of your inventory pretty quickly. I think it's like 5 minutes from when it spawns to, you know, go to dies. And basically what you gotta do is you gotta go in Neo City, and you gotta go over here, and then you go over here, and you give the Hate Soul to this little thing right here. Now, I don't obviously have it, otherwise I would use it. But it'll basically get like a little number instead of like replacing the system's offline thing. And it'll say like 0 out of 100. And this number will slowly go up until 100. Now, after you put the soul into the factory or whatever, you don't have to worry about it despawning. You're good. It can't despawn. Even the soul that it spawns can't despawn at all. But yeah. Now, after you get it to 100 out of 100, you go over here as the soul will start forming or creating or whatever out of this little tube, and then when the soul is fully finished, you just touch it, and then you get the little special badge and the funny and you get some souls and code. And yeah, that's really about it. Well, no, that's really about it for that second server event. Now the last one, this is most important one by far. The powerful soul has been dropped into the timeline one. Now, again, it's more searching. You have to go around, look for a vial. Now, this vial can be taken to the dual sphere to get either to spawn air sands or ink sands. I'll show you. Let me just actually get over there. Oh, bro, this goofy fiddle. Look at the goofy fiddle, man. You're kind of goofy. Alright, anyways. Oh, man. I don't know what the hell is going on with me, but Alright, that little ink pool over there, basically just hold out the vial, you go over the ink pool, you don't even have to interact with anything, you just touch the ink pool with the vial out, it'll spawn ink sands. Now if you go to those strings, and you do the same thing that you would do with the ink bottle, where you go over to it, you hold out the vial and touch it, you get error sounds. Now, which one of these should you do? That kind of depends on what characters you're trying to get. But I'll explain bosses in a whole... But now, the third part of the video where I explain bosses. But, yeah. So, I would suggest doing error sounds, because there are these things called error requests, and they're quite necessary. I already did all the error requests. There's 4 error requests. The first one's ridiculously easy. You just need to power the little hate soul thing. Second thing's a little bit harder. You just use the vial to power the hate soul thing, so it's like you just do the same thing but with the vial now, because the vial is actually harder to spawn. The third thing is beating air sands, which is again not too. It's not very hard. Air sands. Both the bosses are not too hard. Ink sands is harder, but we'll get to that. The fourth thing is beating enraged air, and if you like RNG, then I first have to say what the hell is wrong with you, and I second say you're gonna love this boss. Because when Air Sands goes into his phase 2, there's a 10% chance for, instead of Air Sands, you get Enraged Air. You need to beat this to do Air Quest 4. And this Air Quest 4 is essential for getting really good characters. Enraged Air. Doing Air Quest 3 gives you normal Air Sands. I'll just be straight up, normal Air Sands kind of sucks. But when you get his Enraged form, he becomes really, really good. Like, one of the best characters in the entire game. Then the other character is Fatal Air, and he also costs Air Quest 4. Plus some other stuff, but still, you get the gist. I think you get the hang of things. Now for bosses. Now, characters that are good for PvP are not good for bosses. There's like one whole exception, and that's about it, but there are certain characters that are 40 times better for bosses than they are PvP. Some of them are actually good for both, I'll be honest, like Hyperdust. His phase 3 is really goddamn good. But we'll just move on to boss killers and what's good to kill bosses and what, just stuff like that. Now, I'll start from like low tier boss killers to literally the best boss killer in the entire game. Vurus. Vurus is good if you have the virus badge, then definitely use him. But if you don't have the virus badge and you don't have a ton of resources to spend on killing some stupid boss over and over, then buy Epic Sands. He's pretty cheap. Not his base form. His base form sucks. It just doesn't do good. No, it just doesn't do good damage. His phase 2 though, it's actually really good. It's a good boss killer. So Epic Sands is like the worst boss killer. It's like he's viable, but he's not good per se. Virus Sands is like one step above it, just since he does do more damage with his blasters. And then we really have 2 more fast viable characters. Everything else just don't really use. It's not really worth it. And this is and this is when I said we're gonna go back to Hyperdust, because he's a really good boss. Hyperdust Sands base is a good character. I'm not gonna lie. But when you get his phase 3, which is for some reason Dust, for some reason his phase 3 is just Dust now. I honestly don't know either. Phase 3 is really good because his Chung does like 1,000 damage, which is a lot. Like, that's an incredible amount of damage. Like, that's a lot of damage. That's like enough to one-shot players enough damage. Which is why, personally, I think it needs to be nerfed. Yeah. Anyways. Man, I've said anyways for like 30th time now. Also, how am I making this a 15-minute long? I should probably bring this up. Anyways, Hybridos is a really good boss killer. Just if you want, you can just skip straight to Hybridos because he's really good. Now, you are gonna have to buy his Phase 2 and Phase 3. Phase 2 is you can't buy. The only reason why you buy Phase 2 is because you can't buy Phase 3. You need to have Phase 2 to be able to buy Phase 3. So yeah. Now, though Hybridos is technically the best boss killer, if you haven't actually killed the boss yet. The actual best boss killer is Enraged Air, which you need Air Quest 4 for, so it doesn't really matter. Anyways, I do gotta go.